And welcome to this week's edition of the National Hour. I'm Jeff Hammersley. He's the one and only Hayden Grove. Hayden, a lot to talk about. Ohio State basketball, the big one. Losing at home to Michigan, it was 15th, but they beat the Illini on the road. But for the Buckeyes against Michigan, they were riding the struggle bus for majority of that game.
Well, I wouldn't say majority. I'd say mostly in the second half, they really rode the struggle bus. I mean, we talked offensive numbers. It's just awful when you look at it. 3 of 20 from three-point line, 2 of 10 in the second half from the three-point line, 1 of 10 in the first half from the three-point line. So, I mean, they went back after struggling in the first half. Didn't make the halftime adjustments, and they paid for it. That's absolutely true.
I think the big one here is the Buckeyes in the first half up by 10, as many as 10, with 6:25 left in the first half. And that was, hey, Buckeyes, that win streak will continue. They're going to keep on rolling past in the Big Ten. And they went from a team that was 7th or 8th in the Big Ten, potentially could be number 2, number 3. You could almost call them a lock for the tournament if they would have beat Michigan. But the way it fell apart real fast. Second half especially, I mean, the first half, 3-point shooting, 1 of 10. That's not good at all.
Bad.
Second
Very
half,
bad.
slightly better, 2 of 10. But 3 of 20 collectively, I'm not a math major, but that is not good numbers at all. I believe that's, 15%?
No, and the surprising thing is that they just kept shooting. They kept shooting the ball from outside. I mean, Aaron Craft takes that shot, airballs it. That's the dagger right there. And it's like, what do they do? Like, how? I don't know. I mean, you could say this is a bad day, but we've seen this before, and we saw it again against Illinois. It's just offensively, this team is so challenged.
I mean, looking at the 3-point shooting here, how many guys I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 5 would be LaQuinton Ross, Sam Thompson, Amir, Aaron Craft, Linzel Smith Jr. This is 3-point shooting. LaQuinton Ross, 0 for 4. Sam Thompson, 0 for 1. Amir Williams didn't shoot at 3. Aaron Craft 0 for 2, Linzel Smith Jr. 3 of 9. Linzel hit all the 3-pointers for that team right there. I mean, I understand trying to carry the team shooting, but being the only guy hitting 3-pointers when the team collectively shoots 20, that's a problem. Actually, that's not a problem. That's a huge problem offensively for the Buckeyes from beyond the arc.
Right, and you look at LaQuinton Ross's numbers. He has 24 points. He has 8 of 11 from the free throw line. But if he could make a couple 3-pointers,
it's a different ballgame.
If they could make 3 more 3-pointers, that's 6 of 20 from the field. They have 69 points. They're down by 1. That's a game changer. You just make 3 more. I mean, maybe 1 from LaQuinton, 1 from Sam Thompson, 1 from Aaron Craft. I mean, first of all, why is Linzel Smith Jr. taking 9 3-point shots? I mean, he made 3 of them, which is a decent number. That's 33%, but why is he taking 9 3-point shots, man?
Well, when you let a team with 1 or 2 3-pointers, might as well keep that sort of quote-unquote hot streak going. But 3 of 20 is not good. Michigan, it's weird. First half, they were 4 of 10 from 3-point range, which was, in the entire game, it was more than the Buckeyes had. But they were 4 of 7 in the second half, with 13 of 25 total field goal percentage. That's 52% from the field in the second half. I mean, really, a surge in the second half is what propelled Michigan. They outscored the Buckeyes by 14, 44-30 in the second half, and ultimately, that's what doomed the Buckeyes, a poor second half.
Yeah, like I said, no halftime adjustments. You know, they started out playing well. They got a big lead, got some big dunks from Sam Thompson, from LaQuinton, got a nice momentum building, or got a lot of momentum in the beginning. Halftime comes along, and they just sputter. And it's like, you know, this team was not ready to play the second half. Michigan is a notorious second-half team, and Nick Stauskas gets hot. You know, these guys, let's see right here. We got 15 from Stauskas, 13 from Walton Jr. I mean, these guys got hot in the second half, and the adjustments just weren't there. It's just, that's literally all it was.
Also, I want to just make a note here. I mean, Ohio State, this team, defensively, I don't think you can find a better defensive team collectively in the NCAA.
No.
I think Ohio State is the cream of the crop there. Aaron Craft is anchoring that defensive line. But with the offense, however, I mean, I honestly believe some kid from either one of the like the RPAC, where the guys who play pickup basketball, could literally walk up and maybe find a spot on the team off just shooting prowess. I mean, this is unconscionable how this team they've survived this long with poor shooting. I mean, defensively, that's what's kept in the game. Defense wins. In football, defense wins championships. In basketball, defense stops points, which ultimately helps you win. For the Buckeyes, poor shooting. This isn't like they woke up 2 days ago and like, shooting's not happening. This has been a problem for most of the year. Marquette, we saw that was the first sign. Notre Dame, if it wasn't for that electric final minute and a half, they lose that game. But really, it was exposed when the Big Ten play started, and since the Big Ten play has actually started for the Buckeyes, shooting has not been a strong point for this team. It's been magnified even more as the Big Ten is a tough conference just to begin with.
Yeah, I think that Marquette game should have maybe been a little bit of a foreshadow for Ohio State in terms of offense. I mean, we were talking after that game, hey, big win on the road against Michigan, or against Marquette. But, they did not score the ball well. They played great defense, but again, problems there. And then again, as you said, Big Ten schedule really tough. Week after week after week, it's good team against good team against good team, and you're not going to win games if you're shooting like this. I mean, it's just legitimately, it's just not going to happen. We'll talk about this in a bit, but in terms of the tournament, if you shoot 3 of 20 in the field, if you shoot 3 of 20 from the field in the NCAA tournament from 3-point range, good luck winning.
Well, against Illinois, the Buckeyes, their 3-point shooting, it was a slightly better. They hit 3, but they didn't shoot 20. They were 1 of 8 in the first half, 2 of 5 in the second half from beyond the arc. Not great. It's by no stretch of the imagination are those great numbers, but they beat the Illini. But the final was 48-39. The football team scored more points in Champaign than the basketball team scored against the Illini this past weekend. I mean, when Aaron Kraft is leading your team at 14 points, I mean, it's great that Kraft led with 5 of 6 shooting, but the fact that he's leading your team in scoring means everybody else, their shots aren't falling at all.
This just shows me that there is absolutely no offensive plan. I mean, back in the day, you had guys that could get the job done. You had Deshaun Thomas, you had Jared Sullinger, you had Evan Turner. Those guys are scorers. They can put the ball in the basket. This team has no offensive identity whatsoever. I mean, they pass the ball around the perimeter. And then when clock runs out, they shoot it, and it's not working for them. They're not good enough. Okay, if they're all Michael Redd type shooters, if they're all Michael Redds from the '90s and shooting the ball out of the gym, then yeah, do it. Then fine, you can shoot threes all day if you're making them.
Right.
But this is not the team. This is not the talent set that you want shooting threes like that. I mean, okay, maybe if Amadeo gets hot one day, then you can do that. But not. I don't want to see.
As a team,
right.
They're not hot at all from beyond the arc.
No, and they're not. Lenzel Smith Jr. has regressed, and I don't know if it's the pressure he's feeling on himself or because he is a senior. But back in the day, he was one of those guys.
Yeah.
He was a nice solid, back piece that if you really needed him, if things were going on, he'd finish. He'd shoot it from downtown and he'd finish. But this year, I don't know if it's the pressure. I don't know what it is, but he's not performing, and it's a huge problem for this team right now.
If you're Ohio State, how concerned are you right now? If you're a fan, or even if you're one of the players in the locker room, or even a coach, on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you with this team right now being 10 meaning absolute panic, or 1, don't worry about it, we'll be fine in the next game when you play Northwestern on Wednesday? How concerned are you right now for the Buckeyes?
Well, I'm not panicked because I don't think anything matters till the tournament, to be completely honest with you. But you certainly don't have that confidence that you used to have when Northwestern came to town. I mean, when Northwestern used to come to town, it's Ohio State will win, that'll be a blowout, nobody will show up. And now it's starting to look like maybe not a big game, but a game that's like, will they win? I mean, that's the question, and that's the difference. The confidence level is definitely lower. Again, I wouldn't say panic, though. I'd say that there's just offensively, you don't know. We don't know which team's going to show up. We don't know which team is going to. I mean, what if Northwestern plays well? I mean, that's the Big Ten this year.
They played Wisconsin well. They played Indiana. They played a lot of teams well this season.
Yeah.
For me, I'm going to put a number on it. I'm going to say it's a 7.5 right now.
You're gonna.
This is why the Big Ten right now. It's tearing itself from the inside out. Everybody is beating everybody. There are no guarantees anymore. Used to, you could play Northwestern or you could play Penn State. Oh, it's an easy win whether it's on the road or at home. Those are 2, 3, 4 easy Big Ten conference wins to have. Now it's, if we can win by a couple and survive to the next game, that's great. And especially with this Buckeye team now, offensive shooting is not good. It's nowhere close to where it was in the past. Second, rebounding on the offensive side, that's problematic. Let's go back to the Michigan game. You're the inside guy, Amir Williams, is supposed to be the big rebounder for that team. He had 7 rebounds, respectable. However, Michigan's Derek Walter Jr., a guard nonetheless, 9 defensive rebounds, 1 offensive rebound for a grand total of 10. Illinois game, let's look at it. Amir Williams has 4 rebounds, 3 defensively, 1 offensively, not great. Nana Igwu of the Illini, 4 offensive rebounds on 10 defensive rebounds for a grand total of 14. Walter Jr. from Michigan had 10. Igwu has 14. Guys are getting double-digit rebounds defensively. For the Buckeyes, that's a missed second chance opportunity to get some points back on the board. If they even get half those back, they blow out Illinois. It's not 48-39. If they get half back against Michigan, they might actually win that ball game.
Right, and this is all about Amir Williams and inside presence. I mean, I honestly feel for the guy because he has no idea how to use his body. He's a huge man. He's 6'11", 7 foot. I think 7 foot. I'm going to just say 7 foot because he looks like he's legitimately 7 feet. He's not skinny. He's not fat, but he's a good, solid build. He just has no idea how to use his body. He doesn't know how to use his feet. He doesn't know how to use his hands, and he doesn't even like back in the day, Jared Sullinger.
Yes.
Jared Sullinger had a caboose behind him. I mean, he was a big man. He had a big butt, but he used it to post or in the post to get his way offensively, get his way defensively. And it's showing now in the league, but back in college, he was still, every year was a National Player of the Year contender because despite his size, he played an amazing interior game. I mean, that's what Ohio State predicated itself around, was him and then having shooters on the outside. Now, you have a guy inside that doesn't know how to use it. And I'm not saying he doesn't work hard at it. I'm not saying that he's not trying to get better, but man, it just doesn't, from his brain to his body, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work, and it shows each and every game. Sure, a couple games he'll show some signs of athleticism, throw down a big dunk, and he's a great foul shooter, man. He definitely has taken some time to shoot the ball and to be a smooth, silky shooter, but everything is just the fact that he can't use his body. And you don't have Evan Ravenel this year, and I think a lot of people are overlooking that. That's a huge loss because that's another big body who knew how to rebound. This year, don't know how to do it. Amir can't use his body well, and it's hurting him.
For the Buckeyes right now, ESPN's projecting if the tournament started tomorrow, Buckeyes are a 5 seed taking on Harvard first round.
Harvard.
Yes.
Jeremy Lin's crew.
5 versus 12. Lynn's not there anymore, but that was his crew.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
He may reuse some more, might make it a 5th year for eligibility, comes back and beats the Buckeyes. Plot twist. But Kentucky is a 4 seed, and if everything aligned, it would be number 5 Ohio State, number 4 Kentucky, collision course in the round of 32. If the tournament started tomorrow, Buckeyes, could they get bounced in the first round, or do you see them, Sweet 16 maybe, as they've normally done, or Elite 8 like last year? But Elite 8's a stretch, but knowing what we've seen so far, especially these past 2 games, if this tournament started tomorrow, how far would the Buckeyes go?
They'd beat Harvard, but if they played a team like Kentucky, that'll get ugly quick. Kentucky has athletes, they have youth. I mean, the only thing that could save Ohio State in the tournament, and this is something that goes underrated a lot, is that experience, is that senior leadership. You got Aaron Kraft, who's been there since Noah built his ark.
Yes.
You have Lenzel Smith Jr., who's been there forever. I mean, these guys have played in big game after big game after big game, Big Ten tournaments, Final Fours. I mean, these guys know what they're doing in terms of experience in March Madness, and that's going to help them. But
experience can only take you so far. Experience,
that's right. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Is not going to shoot the ball for you for 60% and
that's
get you
exactly right.
10 chances for second chance opportunity points.
Right, and that's why I say if they play a team like Kentucky, they'll get blown out of the water because they don't have the experience, but they have the talent. I mean, Julius Randle, that guy can get to the basket. You have a lot of solid players on that team that are going to give you problems if you're Ohio State. For Ohio State, it all depends on matchups. They could go Sweet 6. They should get kicked out in the round of 32 if they play a team that's athletically superior to them and has a good day. If they play Kentucky second round, they're out. But if they can play, a middle of the road team like the, I don't know. I don't know any specific teams off the top of my head. But
let's say they get like a Virginia. Virginia drops a couple in the ACC, and they get matched up with the Buckeyes. Could they survive that one?
Yeah.
Find themselves back into the Sweet 16.
Yeah, they could survive 2 games. I think they can. I think they can. Playing a Big Ten schedule has definitely prepared them for games like that. I think, once you get into like maybe the teams that are athletically there but have underperformed, I think that's when you get scary against Ohio State because a team like Kentucky that might have underperformed, fans before the season were saying they're going to go undefeated, 42-0. That hasn't happened because they're young, and that's something to be expected. But if Ohio State plays a team like that, yikes, watch out. But if they play a team that's kind of middle of the road, has always been middle of the road, I think they can, show that they have signs of being a top 10 team. It's just a matter of no consistency, and if they have a bad offensive game, it's yikes.
Speaking of top 10 teams, number 9 Michigan State, Big Ten, right, the cream de la creme of sorts in the Big Ten, played Nebraska this past weekend in East Lansing and managed to lose that game by 9 points. 60-51 was the loss that the Spartans had to the Cornhuskers. I mean, Hayden, this hammers home the point we made all night. Big Ten basketball, it's a crapshoot every single night. You can just spin a wheel, and that's who's got to win games at this point, especially in the Nebraska game. I mean, Michigan State's biggest lead was a whopping 2 points with 9 minutes left in the first half. They were never ahead in this game, and at halftime they were down by 7, ended up losing by 9. I mean, it's Michigan State lost to Wisconsin, understandable loss, but lost to Nebraska at home. Nebraska's now played Ohio State and Michigan State now this season. They beat Ohio State at home, beat Michigan State on the road. The disparity in the Big Ten, I believe, it's non-existent. Every single team can play each other any given night at any given place.
Oh, easily. Nebraska ball, baby. I mean, they wait. Yeah. You go into the zone and you get the job done. I mean, that's just Big Ten basketball at its peak right there. I mean, this year. In the past, you had your top, you had your middle, you had your bottom. Now it's just complete mixture, which is a good thing. Competitively,
right.
You like to see good games, but man, it's like it's brutal, and we're gonna see. We're gonna see whether or not this prepares teams for the tournament. We're gonna see if this is a good thing when they take on ACC teams, when they take on Big East teams, when they take on Big 12 teams. Or we're going to see that, they beat each other up too much. I mean, these teams are so good that it's just like you're tired at that point. You don't want to play. I mean, it's tough to play at that point. So, especially after the Big Ten tournament, which is even, more strenuous.
I think with the Big Ten tournament, you would know, okay, who's the bubble teams that need to win a game versus the teams that are in. If they lose their first or second game, they'll drop a couple seeds, but they're still in. I think that's the most dangerous point. You get a team like Illinois, you get a team like Nebraska, or somebody like Minnesota who drops 1 or 2 more games, they're on the bubble. They have something to prove. There's a chip on their shoulder. It's either you win now or you're going home. And I think with that Big Ten tournament environment, I think it's only going to get tougher as we go on. Even though Ohio State has 5 games left, not tough opponents. Michigan State's one of them.
Yeah.
But I think when you hit Big Ten tournament time, all bets are off at what happens. I mean, I can see Penn State winning the Big Ten tournament if they get the hot hand. That's how crazy it is. Could you imagine that?
But exactly.
This is how crazy it is. I mean, 3 years ago, I say that I would lose my co-anchoring spot right now if I said that 3 years ago. Now this year, it's like, well, they beat Ohio State on the road. They played close in some games. They get a hot hand. Newbill, whoever shot the game winner against Newbill, whoever shot the game winner against us, he gets a hot hand with some help. Penn State can win it all, could make it to the second round of the tournament, or Nebraska could. Anybody can win it this season.
That's just crazy that this year in the Big Ten, it's like, it's amazing to me how the fact that you said Penn State could win the Big Ten tournament, and I'm not sitting here like,
you're crazy, Jeb. Leave this place.
I can't even believe that. I mean, the fact that that's a legitimate possibility just means that this season is just unbelievable. And you can't gauge what's going to happen either. We can say, oh, well, this happened, this happened, this happened. No, it's just a complete crapshoot at this point. Ohio State could win it. Michigan State could win it. Penn State could win it. Any team could win it. And then when you go into the tournament, Penn State could win any game if they get there. I legitimately think that any Big Ten team in the tournament can beat anybody in the country.
Yes, I believe that too. I think if you match up Penn State or you give Illinois a shot against a team, I think they may not win it, but they will play relatively close. They're not going to get run out of the stadium.
No.
I think 1 or 2 games in the Big Ten schedule, you saw that. Now, once teams knew how to play each other, I mean, look at Nebraska, 9-point win on the road against Michigan State. I mean, if the things go the right way for a team, they'll win the ball game. We're seeing that more in the Big Ten. And moving to the other Big Ten game, Michigan, who had a hot hand against Ohio State in the second half, I should say, fell apart to Wisconsin by 13. They shot an abysmal first half, with which they were outscored a grand total of, if I have the numbers here, outscored 34-19 in the first half, and they charged back in the second half, got within 5 or 6, lost the game by 13. But the fact that Michigan was down by that much and could rally back in itself is amazing.
Yeah, Michigan's proven time and time again, especially against Ohio State, especially against Wisconsin, that they are a second-half team. I mean, if they can keep it close in the first half, the second half you might as well watch out because that team's going to play better. John Beilein makes halftime adjustments. Nick Stavsky seems to be a much better player in the second half than the first. I don't know why that is, but that's just how that Michigan team is. And again, it's crazy to me. Wisconsin beats Michigan. Michigan beats Ohio State. Ohio State beats Wisconsin.
It's a full circle of I think everybody's beating each other at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, I'm looking at the Wisconsin game. I mean, Frank Kaminsky, 11 of 16 shooting, 25 points. He had a hot hand. I mean, we've seen that. Sam Decker for Wisconsin, 6 of 10, 15 points. I mean, Josh Gasser, 13 points. I mean, big numbers there. Then for Michigan, I mean, their guys were shooting well too. I mean, Karis LeVert, 25 points in that game. He was trying his best. I mean, Nick Stauskas had 11, 10 points for Glenn Robinson, the third. I mean, for Michigan, their couple stars led them, but they still lost by 13 points in their own place.
Again, all you can say is 2 words. Big Ten.
That's it?
That's all you can say.
Well, one game that isn't Big Ten, which is we quickly want to mention, number 2 Arizona, losing to Arizona State in Arizona State, double overtime, 69-66 loss there. It's not Big Ten basketball, but 16 lead changes, 9 times the game was tied. I mean, we're heading into March shortly, but it's games like this. I mean, if this is what we're seeing now, it's only going to get better from here on out.
Rivalry games are big, man. Kansas State beat Kansas. That was the first time in a long, long time. Arizona State beats number 2 Arizona. I mean, that's just rivalries. You're going to see this a lot in the tournament, and it's just, again, this is what makes college basketball great. The fact that any team can beat any team any day. It's March Madness. It's that's why America loves March Madness so much because
stuff like this.
The underdogs, man.
Yes.
The underdogs.
Arizona State, Jermaine Marshall led the team with 29 points. We met versus Arizona. They had 4 guys in double figures. Their star Aaron Gordon had 13 points, but still a big win for Arizona State in their own place. Resume building win to go to the tournament.
It's madness, baby.
Well, that's all the time we have for right now for college basketball. We'll take a short break and come back with some more sports here on the National Hour.
And welcome back to the National Hour. I'm Hayden Grove here with the one and the only Jeff Hammersley. We're about to get into a little NBA action. It was, of course, the All-Star Weekend this past weekend. Jeff, what were your thoughts of the overall weekend?
I plead the fifth. I think, I think I was baffled by the changes, like in the three-point contest. The whole East-West thing messed me completely. And normally it's like you have 8 shooters. All right, you advance like 4. Now it was, 4 Eastern guys, 4 Western guys. Whoever has the highest, go to the final and shoot, and do really a shoot-off with East versus West. Slam dunk contest caught me off guard with the whole team thing they did at the beginning. If this happened last year, I missed it. But I didn't know. It was like a freestyle, 90-second deal when the East was just putting dunks in. The West did the same thing. I'm like, is this the dunk contest? This can't be it. And then the actual dunk contest happened, and I was less than overwhelmed with what happened. I mean, John Wall, Washington Wizard. I'm from the DMV, from Maryland.
DMV?
I'm from the DMV, but really, it was a good dunk, but compared to what we've seen with the Nate Robinson, the Dwight Howard, Jason Richardson from the Golden State days, Vince Carter handing the cookie jar kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's not here anymore, and I just can't, until they put like somebody like LeBron or somebody that can get some hops that can actually bring some creativity back. Even Blake Griffin's Kia dunk, that was, I think, one of the final great dunks we've seen. I think until that comes back, I think the dunk contest is in serious jeopardy. I mean, they even did it with the scorecard. Like, they raised the 10, you got the 9. It was just like on a tablet, they turn it. I got the East winning this round. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of it, the festivities.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna talk about it specifically later in my final story. So I don't want to give away too much, but I agree. I think it was everything was a little messed up this weekend. I don't think it was what it used to be, and we'll talk about that a little later. But do you specifically have any ways to change anything that happened this weekend? I mean, we're gonna get into the All-Star game a little bit, but what, in terms of the Saturday night, as they like to call it, how would you change things?
Put LeBron or somebody that can dunk in there. Where LeBron James does the dunk videos. I mean, he does the whole, like the 30 seconds of just dunking. It looked fantastic in the video, but he's not in the dunk contest. But then you get, not to take away from John Wall or anybody who was in the dunk contest, the fact that it wasn't what we've seen before. It wasn't in 2007, 2008 when we had Dwight Howard, when we had Nate Robinson, when we had Jason Richardson in the early days, like I mentioned before. Even going back to like the whole three-point contest, that used to be a lot better when you had 8 guys, and then you go to this whole East-West format. I'm just not a huge fan of it. Change it back to the way it was in the old days and try to get some actual stars. Everybody who's in the All-Star Weekend's a star, but it's not like Kevin Durant versus LeBron versus Blake Griffin versus John Wall or whoever who's dunking. We're not seeing that. We're seeing guys who just say, hey, nobody else wants to do it. Let me go into the All-Star dunk contest. It needs to have its star quality like the Michael Jordans of the days, like when Kobe Bryant did it 1 or 2 years. Spud Webb did it and dunked. I think that's what the NBA needs now. I think for Adam Silver, they want to extend the All-Star break like LeBron. He wants it extended. But I think the collateral would be, okay, look, we extend it, but you need to corral your guys like Durant and company to actually do the All-Star festivities and dunk, do the skills contest, do the three-point shooting.
Yeah, I think you need to have the stars in the actual game. I think that's the biggest issue. In the actual game. You need to have the stars in these events. No offense to Ben McLemore, no offense to, I don't know, whoever else is in it. These guys, they're not stars, man. They're not there yet. They're rookies.
People who paid money to see the festivities, yes, they go to the festivities because it's the festivities in New Orleans, but they want to see LeBron. They want to see Blake Griffin. They want to see Chris Paul in the skills contest. They want to see somebody. They want to see Durant do either three-point shooting. They want to see him do the dunk, something. Look at the actual All-Star game. Blake Griffin was dunking off every single pass he got. He was trying to dunk it. Where was that the night before in the actual slam dunk contest during the All-Star festivities? It wasn't there. And I think that's one of the bigger problems to begin with. It is the go-to bread and butter stars just aren't there anymore. I think if the NBA can put them back somehow, some way, say, hey, LeBron, we'll give you a couple more days to be in, to have some rest, but you have to be in the dunk contest. That could be one way to entice those guys to actually do the festivities.
Well, I'm going to give you my solution a little later. I'm with you on pretty much everything you said, but I'm just gonna hold it back. Make the viewers wait a little bit. Give them a little surprise. But all right, so the game itself, the East beat the West. They came back. West got out to a big early lead. Mm-hmm. Guys were Blake Griffin was throwing down dunks like it was easy. They were just tossing him up. He's firing everything to the hole. But then in the second half, a little guy named Kyrie Irving comes out, has his welcome to stardom party, makes Cleveland happy, and wins the All-Star MVP. We've seen All-Star MVPs in Cleveland before. What does this mean?
The King's coming back. That's what it means. The King will return for the Cavaliers, but no, really. I think Kyrie, that's a big honor right there to pick that up. Also, Carmelo Anthony helped him shoot the three-pointers. Melo was on fire, literally, from the three-point line. He was on a roll. Kyrie, I believe, had like 13 or 14 assists during the All-Star game, so he was dishing it to all the stars. Yes, nobody was playing defense, but the fact that he can still do that, I think is fantastic. But I think for Cleveland, even though this season has gone every way that you didn't want it to go, you have at least a sort of a bright spot that knowing that, hey, the All-Star MVP came from Cleveland. I think that's the one bright spot. I think moving forward for Cleveland, they can get some help. They can get 1 or 2 stars and have Kyrie pass him a little bit. That could be all it takes for Cleveland to go from a team that's going to miss the playoffs by about 5 or 6 games to, hey, locked in as maybe a 5 or 6 or even higher. Yeah,
trade deadline coming up. I think by the time we tape on Tuesday, so I think the NBA trade deadline is the end of this week. It'll be interesting to see if the Cavs can pull off a little move with Greg.
It would be.
I've heard names like Greg Monroe. I've also heard names like lesser players like Jimmer Fredette from the old Jimmer Range from BYU. So it'll be interesting to see what the Cavs do there. But certainly, Kyrie Irving last year wins the three-point contest. This year wins the All-Star MVP. He's certainly making a reputation for himself. I originally didn't think that he deserved the All-Star start, especially because his numbers are down. But people are loving him, and he proved why he belonged.
Yeah, I think so too. The East was loaded, but Kyrie, he put up the numbers in an All-Star game to show, hey, I deserve to be here. I didn't deserve to be on the bench and somebody else start over me. But, he had some help, though. If Melo doesn't hit a couple of threes or a couple of his passes, the shots aren't made, that could hurt his assist total down, but they went through. Melo was on a roll. I thought he he could have been the MVP. I was a little surprised that Irving got it over Melo in that sense, because I think the star power so far we've known, Melo is on a whole different level in the level of stardom as compared to Kyrie Irving. But still, Kyrie, it's a huge honor to have that. Even though Melo shot on fire, and LeBron James and Bosh and company were on that team, but you were still the MVP in the end.
Yeah, I think it was surprising that the MVP of the All-Star game, I think Kyrie had the most assists ever in an All-Star game.
I mean, there's
So
a lot of records being broken in that game, though.
That was definitely a big thing. Kind of interesting to see. He's usually the guy that takes the ball and is not necessarily known for his. I mean, he's a good passer, but he's not known for his passing.
Yes.
He's known for being a scorer,
Yes.
and then he breaks the All-Star game record for assists. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean,
It will be.
as bad as the Cavs are, they're definitely one of the more interesting teams in the league. Just large
none.
part, and thanks to LeBron, to Kyrie, to Deion Waiters, to the firing of Chris Grant, to Anthony Bennett. I mean, they have so many storylines.
Yeah, it's a soap opera basically in Cleveland. I mean, for all we know, tomorrow somebody else gets fired from the front office, or a trade, or something happens. But it's Cleveland.
I think you're going to see a trade. I absolutely think you're going to see a trade.
Jimmer comes
I don't
from
know, but
Sacramento.
I'm not going to say names because that's so arbitrary, because you never know. But I think you're going to see I think you're going to see a trade in Cleveland before this week is over. When we get back, we'll be talking a little Sochi Olympics, and you should stay tuned.
And welcome back to the final segment of the National Hour. I'm Jeff Hammersley. Alongside me, Hayden Grove. And Hayden, Olympics in full force right now. The big thing America's talking about, USA ice hockey. Not Miracle on Ice, but it's as close as we're going to get in this day and age right now. U.S., they played Slovakia, won that game, played against the Russians, back and forth game. The Russians and Fedor Tutin scoring a goal there, waved off because the net came loose, just barely came loose. Game goes into shootouts. TJ Oshie was one of the late additions to that Olympic team, hits all 4 shootout goals, tops the Russians in their own home. Really, it doesn't get much more bigger than that if you're the Americans, and it doesn't get much lower if you're the Russians.
I think you think you can get a little lower if you're the Russians. I mean,
Losing to the Americans on your home soil, that's big stuff there.
No, it's big stuff. It's definitely not a good. It's a heartbreaking loss, but I think losing to a team like Slovakia would be a little worse because
And that happens. Ooh.
Oh yeah, well that's what I'm saying.
That's your Olympics.
That's what
right
I'm saying.
there.
At least you're losing to a great caliber team in the United States. I mean, they have some of the best players in the world, but yeah, no, definitely a big one for the United States. TJ Oshie made himself into a very household
He's a
name
star.
very quickly. That's going to be interesting to see how he plays out just with all that stardom. But I did not get up at 7 o'clock in the morning to watch the game, but I heard about it and I saw the highlights and just amazing stuff. As we've said in the past, one of my favorite movies of all time, Miracle, the story of the 1980s USA hockey team that beat Russia. So this is the closest thing we're going to get. And it was really cool to see. But I'm more interested to see about my ancestral homeland of Slovenia. They're pulling a little surprise out. I think they're in the quarterfinals now with the rest of the crew. Slovenia, little country, home of Andrej Kopitar. So you got to watch out. You got to watch out for my boys.
That's the big thing there. I think for hockey, it's like the Russians that went to 2 shootouts in the prelims, got through that, advanced on, solidified the fight for another day. But for the Americans, I mean, Oshie in the NHL had a 70% shootout percentage, which is the highest for the NHL. He plays with the St. Louis Blues. That paid off going up against the Russians. And Bobrovsky, their goalie, who happens to be a Columbus Blue Jacket, he is the starting goalie for the Blue Jackets, gave up the goals, but still, if you're America, you got to be liking this. You can beat the Russians. If you win your quarterfinals and Canada wins their quarters, you're playing Canada, but it's a morale booster where you can beat the Russians. Canada, they have Sidney Crosby and company, but the Russians, they have guys like Alexander Semin, Alex Ovechkin, Bobrovsky at goalkeeping. I mean, the Russians, they're a good team. Canada's equally good compared to the Russians, but for the Americans, it's a big win nonetheless, and it's a morale booster moving forward.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think if you're the Americans, you're looking at 2 big games. I think you're looking at Russia and you're looking at Canada, and you got one out of the way. You played a really good game.
You're not out of the woods yet.
They're definitely not out of the woods yet. They got a huge game coming up. I mean, we've seen in the past, the United States, Canada, big matchup. I think we're going to see it again, and I think it's going to be epic. That's one I'll watch. Russia was a little early. Hopefully the Canada one won't be a little early. Hopefully they'll play it afternoon or something. But I think they're going to get there, and I think it's going to be one of the biggest games and the biggest moments of this Sochi Olympics.
But for the Americans, their quarterfinal game, I believe, is going to be. It's going to be since today's Tuesday, Wednesday at noon is going to be the quarterfinals. By the time this airs, it's already happened for the Americans. Win that game, and you're one step closer to being on the medal podium in the end.
Yep.
Keeping it on the ice, actually, I was going to say moving it forward, but we're going to keep it on the ice. USA figure skating. We don't talk about that a lot here in the national, but this one, different case here. Merrill Davis and Charlie White, who go to the University of Michigan students there, taking the gold in ice skating. First ever gold for the U.S. in the ice skating event there. I mean, they defeated defending gold medalists from Vancouver, Tessa Virtue and Scott Moore. For Americans, that once again, big win. They were projected to be up there, silver and gold, but taking the gold this time, huge nonetheless.
Oh, definitely a big win for the United States. I mean, admittedly, we don't know all that much about figure skating. What they did.
We only know figure skating when the Olympics happen.
Right.
That's what
exactly.
Really happens.
Yeah, we don't know anything about it, but at the same time, it is a big win for the Americans, especially with so many other quality skaters. I mean, I don't know. I was reading something the other night that was like, we think everything they do is amazing, and the announcers are like, oh, he messed up. I'm like, wow, that was really good still. I don't know what you're talking about. That looked really impressive to me. But nonetheless, Wolverines get a big gold medal for the United States, and that's what it's all about. They're trying to get to the medal count, trying to get all the way up.
Speaking of medal counts, the Americans, it wasn't a gold, but they claimed bronze in the bobsled. Jamaicans coming in 29th. Blade Runners there.
Hey, baby.
They at least got there. They weren't the last place because I believe whoever was the 30th team did not finish, did not qualify. They did come in last. That's the big thing. Americans getting the bronze in that event. Holcomb, part of that team USA with the BMW bobsled, got on the podium. Not gold, but still bringing home a medal from an Olympics. Great nonetheless.
Oh yeah. I mean, just going back to Jamaica, just to be there, that's what they're expecting. They just love to be there. They enjoy that experience. We love the movie Cool Runnings. That's the whole thing. But good for them. I mean, they got there. For the Americans, again, always good to have medals. They can't always win gold, so you did very well in the bobsled. And again, we don't know anything about bobsledding. Let's be real with ourselves. But it is a nice win for the United States. Of course, anytime you get a medal.
And the final one, Bodie Miller, is the last of the highlights we have because the Olympics are the time thing and the time delay and the results. It's hectic. Bodie Miller claiming the bronze in men's Super G, one of the most decorated medalists for America on the skis. He's been here for, I believe, 5 Olympics now, but this ending out on top with not a gold medal, but a medal nonetheless.
Hey, man, again, you can't always win gold, but for Bodie Miller, just a phenomenal career. Gets the bronze medal. I mean, you don't want to, Shaun White's was a little different because he didn't medal. This is his last go around, but he didn't medal. For Bodie Miller, he medals. Not the gold, but certainly bronze, certainly something to be proud of. He's on the podium and, can't say enough about his career. Has done amazing things for skiing in the United States.
That's all the time we have for the Olympics now, and now we're off to our final stories. The media can be a good thing. People can voice their opinions in an open forum, have their side of the story told, entertain us, and other stuff like that. However, the media can also be an entity that takes away from the successes of one's life and unearths a past that was supposed to stay where it was, the past. In the case of Bodie Miller, a bronze medal was supposed to be the exclamation point to a brilliant Olympic career that has spanned through the Nagano Olympics in 1998 to Sochi today. However, the post-race interview focused more about how Bodie Miller's brother's death affected his Olympic performance rather than Bodie Miller earning his bronze medal by being the daring Bodie Miller that we've come to know. It's sad that it's come to this. In someone's brightest of days, they are still berated by questions about their darkest nights. But hey, sunshine and happiness aren't what get ratings through the roof. It's about breaking a person and seeing their personal tragedies in the limelight and seeing if they'll rise again, stronger than they were before. That's what gets ratings through the roof, no matter how right or wrong that may be.
Admittedly, I did not watch the dunk contest this year, but from what I heard, it was absolutely awful. Part of the reason I didn't watch the dunk contest was thanks in large part to the underwhelming athletes that took part. While Ben McLemore, Damian Lillard, Harrison Barnes, and Terrence Ross are definitely some of the most up-and-coming stars in this league and players that I love to watch during regular season games, none outside of Terrence Ross is known for their high-flying tendencies. Yes, Paul George intrigued me, as did John Wall, who won the contest, but the underwhelming nature of the rest of the class completely turned me off. People are wondering what should be done to fix the dunk contest and bring it back to the days of Vince Carter and Jason Richardson, MJ and Dominique, and even Dr. J. Some are saying the dunk contest is done, but I think it still has life. The answer is obvious. Get the best to compete. Entice LeBron, entice Blake Griffin, entice Kevin Durant, and other stars to compete in the contest. How do you do that? Pay them whatever it takes. Give them millions, and I can almost promise that you'll make that money back with all of the ratings that you're going to get. I hope this is the last year we see the dunk contest as an afterthought rather than the main event of All-Star Weekend. There's still so much potential, we just need the right guys throwing the hammer down and bringing the contest back to where it used to be.
And that's all the time we have this week on this edition of the National Hour. I'm Jeff Hammersley. He's Hayden Grove. Catch us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and watch our previous shows. And watch us on Channel 19 around campus. Thank you, and we'll catch you next time.